summer, Mike likes machine guns.
I like machine guns.
Welcome to episode 13. We have Josh Tyler with us today.
Yeah,
We're upping the ante with each and every guest.
we are.
Raising the bar.
Oh, gosh.
I'd like to just quickly say I don't want to, bore everyone and dwell on it, but I don't know if you're watching us on YouTube or just listening, but the Arrowhead people are in a fight for our sponsorship. Mm-hmm. They've delivered gallons of water.
Yeah.
So Smart Water had better up their game if they want to stay with us at this point.
What was it that we said to ruin that one?
Well, I think somebody may have alluded to the fact that it was simply filtered tap water, which is completely not true.
Well, to be fair, I mean, if it says purified water, that's in essence what it is. They're just taking the county water, running it through a filter, and here you go. As I understand it. I'm not a water expert, so I could be wrong.
I think this is from the springs of Washington State.
Yeah, I think there's a little more to it with that, and I think it's obvious the tenacity that the Arrowhead people have. They're serious. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Go get him, Tiger.
Yeah, have at it.
So here we are.
I'm curious if our audience is annoyed by this sponsorship.
I hope not.
Okay, good. If you are, let us know, and we'll stop talking about water.
We'll just starve. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's
Or
cool. We just won't eat.
Maybe we'll just know you're annoyed and take note of it. I don't know.
Duly noted.
Yes. So they can't see your ears, but if you give them a little...
Oh.
We got a fighter on set today.
Those ears have been abused.
Yeah.
They really have. I've taken quite a bit of abuse, and a lot of it is mostly self-inflicted.
Understand. You must be married?
Yeah, sure am.
Fair.
I've made a lot of interesting decisions in my life, which has led to that self-inflicted abuse. But all things considered, I think they were good-ish. I wouldn't recommend them for anyone else, but
I strive not to self-abuse, but it still happens.
I think I'm getting better at it in my old age.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think you
think-
can take as much as
I
you
think
get
you
older.
slow down.
Yeah,
It's natural.
So we met at, you guys were connected to the Black Rifle Coffee headquarters here when you were with Ready Man, and now you're with Savage Gentleman.
Yeah, so we started Savage Gentleman kind of under that roof, and then since then have kind of grown up and moved out of our parents' house, and we're kind of doing our own thing now.
This is some Savage Gentleman right here.
It is, yeah. This is our Ketchum vest from our Hemingway collection. So we just recently, this past year, got into our own clothing line, which is, kind of probably more on the gentleman's side. Mm-hmm. And the shirt I'm wearing, I haven't figured out what we're going to call it yet, but this will be our next piece that we come out with.
This is nice. As a tailor will work here.
Yeah, thanks, man.
All I know is I felt underdressed
I'm
at the
sorry.
get-go, but it's okay.
Well, I have to do something to counterbalance this, because if you see me from the neck up, I kind of look like a homeless guy, So it's like, wow, man, that's a really well-dressed hobo. I call it transient chic is the look I'm going for.
I like that.
Yeah.
That is good.
It's working for you.
Thanks, man. I
Don't
appreciate
change.
it. Well, I don't know. The people on the internet may disagree. If you go through and you look at some of our social media ads, guys lose their fucking minds when they see some long-haired hippie with a beard. And, in their mind, they're like, oh, this guy's out in the woods faking it. Like, he's never actually camped, or like, that dude's never been off the pavement. I'm like, bro, I guarantee I have slept in the dirt more than you have. But okay, cool. Whatever makes you feel good there, champ. Have at it.
Sometimes internet people can be a little aggressive.
They really can. And it's kind of sad when we're trying to look at this idea of men being men, right? And it's like, man, I feel, how fucking miserable is your life that you're scrolling through and you feel compelled? You may be thinking it, and you're entitled to your opinion. I'm sure, like I was telling Rich, I'm sure people look at me and that guy's a fucking douche canoe. Look at him.
You're not
and that's fine.
I didn't get that.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. I guess maybe those comments on the internet cut a little deeper than I realized.
Well, you're doing the Lord's
My
work.
feelings.
You've got good outer projection. Just keep it up.
I do. I'm faking it so hard. fake it.
Don't say that.
I'm inside. I'm just a scared little boy.
No, I think what you're doing is good because I'm irritated that the hipsters have stolen the flannel.
They really have co-opted a lot of cool stuff, and really, you know what it is, what they've co-opted and stolen from the general population, I think, is just intentionality, right? If you give a shit about anything, and whether that's the music you listen to, the motorcycle that you ride, the clothes that you wear, whatever it is, if you care about anything at all, well, now you're a hipster. And it's like, well, I mean, that is a thing, right? And there is a level of like pretentiousness and things that maybe isn't very appealing, and you can critique that. But just because you see a dude who, a handsome looking guy in a flannel doesn't mean like he's not capable of doing something.
Right. That's the frustrating thing is you look at these guys and it's all surface level, and they've got the look. They've got the Red Wing boots on, which I don't know why they would pay $250 for a set of those. Or I should say more like they're not wearing the actual boots. They're not wearing these.
Right.
They're wearing boots that look like
yours look very different.
Yeah.
Those aren't just right off the shelf.
No.
They have seen a couple of miles.
They have.
They've had a little mud on them, but I think it just points to the general insecurity that, I don't want to say most, I don't know what the percentage, more than it probably needs to be, but a lot of guys have, where the knee-jerk reaction is to critique. Oh, I'm going to assume the worst about this person, put them in this box that makes me feel a lot better about myself. If I can put this person down, then, I mean, this is classic psychology.
Sure.
Where people will put others down to try and elevate themselves. And again, when you see it, I don't even have to scroll through, and I'm not going to waste my time doing it. I did it, at first I was a little sensitive, and I was like, oh, gee, people think I'm, like, and then I grew up and then realized I, didn't need to give a shit. Thus is the life of a person who puts themselves on the internet, right? You're going to get.
Yeah, you were a professional MMA fighter. What do you have to prove to anybody?
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, and at first I had to like bite my tongue because my knee-jerk reaction is like, oh yeah, well, I mean, how many professional fights have you had, pussy? And then I realized like, well, I'm stooping to that level, and I'm revealing my own level of insecurity. Yeah. So I had to kind of probe like, why is this now my knee-jerk reaction? It's like, oh, I'm actually kind of insecure too. So that was, it was actually good to work through that and recognize that, and now I can, look at these things and actually have a little fun with it. I have been told that our comment section on our ads is fairly entertaining because, it's like, hey man, you just walked into my storefront and took a shit on the floor. So we're going to talk about it. Like, we're going to have some words.
Well, I think that's a good attitude, and I think comments like that are very short-term gain, and it is not a long-term strategy that will work for you. It will hurt you more than it helps.
I mean, I don't see these guys being super productive and contributing a lot to society.
Especially on an ad, right? They're taking time on an ad.
Right.
Which is, you're doing a good job then. And as far as marketing is concerned, like that, even if it's negative, trolls, you're capturing the audience, you're advertising, they're actually interacting. You don't see a lot of that, interacting on an actual ad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in that respect, and so it's gotten me to think a little bit differently about marketing, and now I'm just like, all right, what can I do to fuck with these guys?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, what is really gonna just and I might be appealing to the wrong people because these guys aren't gonna buy our stuff. Like, these guys aren't gonna pay $220 for a vest. If you're the kind of guy that's gonna look at an ad and take the time, like, you probably can't afford to. Not to be, elitist.
I'm gonna buy one.
Much.
These things are nice.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
That wool?
Yes,
Beautiful. This is wool.
I can only afford to leave a negative comment.
Well, you know what? And that's probably there's some truth there. That's the only thing these guys can afford. And not even, and that's not even just in a monetary thing. If we want to get really deep, they don't have the substance, the richness of character to do anything but that.
Well, I'm just not wired to leave a negative comment for no reason. My mother said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. And that has been very, very good for me in my life. I just keep my mouth shut and move on. It's none of my business.
Sure. And, you know, what else could that energy be put into? Because it is energy, right? It may not be a lot. It doesn't take a lot to, you know, type 144 characters and shoot out a tweet, right? In the grand scheme of things, it's not like you're running a marathon or curing cancer or whatever, but it does take energy, and all those little things add up. And, you know, how many people are just wasting a shit ton of energy being negative on the internet to no avail? You're not going to change anything. You are as impotent as someone who is hurling rocks at the sun, right? It's the same thing, and that's what
feces.
I see. We're feces. Yeah, you're basically slinging shit at the sun. It's probably a more accurate analogy. So yeah, the internet's a weird place.
It's a hot topic right now. I'm on our currently, as it sits today, we've gone dark on our Instagram specifically because
intentionally or
intentionally.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hoping it takes us off of whatever radar we've been put on, but we've had multiple posts in the last week get banned.
Really?
Yeah, and it's standard stuff.
You're a bad boy. You guys are bad boys.
We're not doing anything out of the ordinary. And they sent me a message saying that our account is under review for potential deletion.
What?
That means it's going away.
That's
That's a soft get you ready.
pretty
Which,
much.
I mean, I guess maybe thanks for giving me the 2 weeks notice.
Sure.
It's unfortunate that it's come to that, but I think a lot of us, you know, you can't put the blame solely externally. Like, I think a lot of, and I say us as the people who have been deemed deplorables or whatever, you know, unworthy to be a part of this.
We're against the narrative.
Sure. You know, we kind of just accepted this thing at face value, and I think a lot of us just assumed that this would always be a viable means for running our business and reaching other people. And, you know, we did nothing to create a plan B or some kind of contingency, right? And you know, I'm guilty of that as well. And now I'm looking at for my business, I'm like, hey, you know, we try to stay fairly, I don't want to say neutral, but we try not to ostracize people when we don't have to. But there's going to come a time where just gentleman may be, like, not even savage, but gentleman may be a banned word.
It may be.
You know what I mean? And so I've got to start planning ahead and
what
start
about
looking at
gentlewoman? Come on.
How about gentle person?
But there's the words, but son is in that. So it's, I think that's probably perpetuating the patriarchy.
It's like amen. Like, you can't say amen.
Well, look, fact checkers and community guidelines are going to tighten up until you can only post certain subjects.
Sure. And here's my thing. It's ridiculous. I don't believe in it, but I'm also like, let it happen. These motherfuckers are gonna, you know, eventually crucify themselves with their own policies because, you know, like, good luck running your business when you just wipe out 50%.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool. You just drew a line in the sand, and now 50% of the people fall outside of that. It's a terrible business decision. And, you know, maybe
Eventually, people will get sick of it, man.
100%.
Even people on their side of the court are getting sick of the cancel culture, and they're just like,
sure.
really? You're going to sit here and sing WAP while at the same time canceling Dr. Seuss, a children's book. Like,
sure.
What is going on here?
I think it's a very short-sighted strategy. And you know, what do I know? I'm just a dumb fighter, right? So, but you're from a business standpoint, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And so, man, let it happen and watch that thing burn. I mean, you know, this is maybe kind of callous, but I look at some of these cities that are making really poor decisions. And I'm like, well, it's your choice to continue to live there. And when everyone vacates and there's nothing, well, man, I guess you need to start making some new and better decisions.
No kidding.
And they are having a mass exodus.
Sure. Why would you stay
What's
there?
the number from California? 450,000 per year
As it sits right
moving
now,
out of the state, something like that. Something that's a lot.
Yeah. And you know what? If you're happy with it, if it works for you, if you like stepping over needles and feces, if you like living in a city where, there's nightly riots and things burning, hey man, do you?
Yeah. You're a savage.
You're not forced to stay there, right?
You're really not. I mean, maybe that's dismissive. There are some people that might be your privilege talking, that you have the fortitude to up and leave.
I don't think so. I think it's more, look, we got past the Pony Express and the Telegraph. I mean, it happens. Things change, and we'll do the same thing with social media, marketing,
Absolutely.
advertising, all that, and maybe the same thing is going to happen with these heavily urbanized areas.
I think they have to. I mean, I think evolution is inevitable to some degree, or extinction. There's only two outcomes, and I don't particularly subscribe to the doom and gloom. Right? It doesn't mean that I don't recognize there's some things that are fucked up. Right? Like, oh man, we should make some changes. But I like to generally believe in the overall intelligence and survivability of the human species. That, like, we'll figure it out. It's going to get uncomfortable,
Sure.
But that's where, for me, it's like, well, I'm okay. I'm kind of okay with being uncomfortable. I'd prefer not to, but I've spent most of my life in a lot of uncomfortable positions. If I have to, I'll survive. A lot of people, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to fare.
I got this idea the other day from somewhere, I'm not sure where, but I thought to myself, what if a pandemic came to those big cities? Ooh. Think about that.
It already
what would
did.
they do? Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where I got the idea.
Yeah, it would be strange. I think there would be, a lot of people in a really bad way.
Yep.
Especially if you happen to be the elderly and in a nursing home in some of those places.
High risk, as it were.
Yeah. It's not great. And so I'm all for reevaluating the system. I think we definitely need to look at, there's some glaring problems with the foundation that we have built our recent society. That's not, I think the initial foundation we built it on was pretty solid. That whole Constitution thing is pretty cool.
Agreed.
I'm a fan.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, man, these guys had some, decent thoughts, I think.
We're going to get fact checked.
Yeah, the Constitution was a terrible idea. Okay.
It's not absolute. That's what I hear now.
Yeah, just change it. Just whatever you don't like, just
Tear that part
take a
out.
Sharpie. We'll just take a Sharpie and redact those parts and
Redline it, as it were.
Oh, yeah. Just, what? Scrap the whole thing. Let's just start it from scratch.
I'd hate to see what they wrote today.
Yeah.
I just want to fast forward 4 years, please. Let's just get these 4 years over with.
No, I think it's important. I think people actually need to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're toddlers, right? Like
Yes, we are.
we're toddlers, and you can tell a toddler. I've got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I can tell them, hey, dude, slow down, take it easy. You're gonna freaking run into a wall or a corner, or you're gonna bust your ass. I tell my son this all the time, like, hey, bud, you're gonna bust your ass. Sure enough, he does, and it checks him up a little bit.
Well, I think history is a giant rinse, wash, repeat.
Sure.
It just depends on where you came into it at. And that's your place, and you can't help it, and it is what it is. And it's the same thing over and over and over again. And we're just about to go into another one of those fun resets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there are some people. I like to think that there's some people that are going to come out of that better than others.
Sure.
They're going to come out ahead because of their understanding of history. And, you know, if we're smart, we can read the writing on the wall, and we're doing, you know, what we can. I mean, you can get really extreme with it. And I'm not, there's plenty of people who are, but I'm not like hoarding resources and building my bunker and that sort of thing. I'm kind of, I mean, and that's not to say don't prepare yourself and don't do anything either. But
Well, that's a short term
I think
insulation.
totally. I think the long term is just building a general resiliency as a human, as a person, right? I think that's where a lot of people are missing the mark. Was like, I got to have all the things, and it's like, well, things run out, right? If you don't have it here within your body and here within your mind, you can have all the shit in the world. It's not going to. Someone's just going to take it.
Well, and if it doesn't run out, it becomes antiquated and useless.
That as well. So, I mean, if we're not adaptable as humans, right, if we can't respond appropriately to our environment, and if we're not testing that somewhere regularly, and this is kind of part of the savage gentleman, of this ongoing process of self-improvement, either in the savage or the gentleman side, if we can't do that, we're not very useful. And we're kind of in a place right now where it's okay to not be useful. I don't think it's going to stay that way. And the more useful people, the more adaptable people are going to start rising to the top of whatever that is, whatever that pyramid or paradigm you want to consider. These people are going to come out better, I think, than the ones who aren't useful.
Well, it can't stay that way, and that's the negative effect of specialization. So you only have to be pretty good at one little tiny thing, and then you can do that for everybody else, and no one can do what anyone else can do, and so we all need each other, but that only works for so long, and then you find yourself too helpless in too many other areas.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, we have, for whatever reason, lost touch of this idea of a Renaissance man, of someone who can do anything and everything. And if we look back, we don't have to look that far, really. I mean, if we look back at our dads or our grandfathers, man, those guys were really capable. You know,
I feel like one thing that is missing too, and this is a generational fuck up, you know, specifically with the boomers. And I'm not saying this is for everybody, but I think, and I didn't have it, I kind of created my own rite of passage.
Sure.
Is that father to son rite of passage? Like, hey, you're a man now.
Yeah.
And it's like a moment in your life, right, where you, like for me, it was traveling to Europe by myself when I was 18, and that was kind of a freaky scenario for me, because it's like I think leading up to that point, I had been on a plane like once or twice. And when I did that and I came back, I was like, well, I don't really feel like there's anything I can't do at this point. You know, if I want to go somewhere, I'm just going to go. So that was kind of a turning point. But, like, I don't think there's enough of that. Like, that's a result of what we're seeing with these hipsters.
Yeah. There's no universally agreed upon transition.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the hard part. And we don't have that because we don't actually have a universally agreed upon definition of what a man is. So how can you have a rite of passage into what? And the author Jack Donovan, a buddy of mine, he talks about this quite a bit. And if you're interested in going down that rabbit hole, I would recommend reading some of the stuff that he's put out. But you know, we can't collectively agree upon what a man should be. And that makes it really hard. And you know, understandably so, we have such now a diverse array of cultures where, you know, we have kind of this, and we're moving towards this globalist ideology of what the human race is, but it's like, man, there's still a lot of differences in our belief systems. And that makes it really hard to reconcile.
There's got to be a Mr. scale. That's the way I like to put it. There's the Mr. scale. And on one side of that scale, you got Mr. Rogers.
Okay.
And that dude was a man. He was a man, and he ministered to my heart as a child. And he was a sensitive man, but he was who he was, and he was unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
If you know about Mr. Rogers' story, he was a fighter, just in his own way and in his world. And then you got your grunting Viking all the way on the other end of the Mr. scale.
Can we make that Mr. T?
Mr.
Can you
T.
have Mr. Rogers and Mr.
Mr.
T?
T and Mr. Rogers.
Okay, cool. I like that. Well,
Yeah.
what you have just described, whether you have realized it or not, is the spectrum of savage and gentleman.
There you go.
I mean,
That's right.
It's a happy accident. But find yourself on that Mr. scale and be it. And don't try to fake it like these hipsters that are walking around, you know, or even honestly, like I see like a lot of earth muffins in Park City. They're just super ready for an impromptu hike. You know, they got their hiking boots on and their Patagonia, and they might walk trails on the weekend, but they're kind of surface level there too. They look the part.
sure. Well, I mean, it's a dishonesty within ourselves, right? We're not really being honest with who we are and what we're capable of doing, and that creates this dissonance from what we look like and what we can actually perform. My thing with your Mr. scale is that find where you are on the scale, and where you'd like to be, and if that's working for you, keep it up.
Yeah, be it.
If for some reason things aren't falling into line, then maybe probably don't need more of the same thing. You maybe need to look at the opposite end.
You could change your position on that a little bit.
You can shift it. And the whole idea of being a savage gentleman is not just, it's a never ending process, right? So I'm constantly trying to level up one area or the other. And it's like, and I have to take a look at my life and see where I'm at, how things are going, and then take a step back and say, oh, dude, I have been spending so much time on this gentleman's side. I've been writing, I've been creating, I've been doing this. I lost touch with my savage, and that part somewhere within me is like screaming to get out.
Nice.
And so that's where this tension is arising, this anxiety. There's a whole side of the coin that I haven't.
You need to go beat someone's ass.
Yeah, I gotta go, and I legitimately do. Like the frequency with which I needed to scratch that itch has been reduced. But if I go, a week without, beating someone up or getting beat up, like, man, you can ask my wife. Like, I start to get a little weird.
We're not talking about the streets either. We're talking about
on a mat. No, in a very controlled. I'm not a degenerate. I'm not a criminal. Yeah.
The long journey of personal growth.
Indeed. I mean, it's fascinating. And man, what a time to be alive that we can actually even have these conversations. Because guess what? It wasn't too long ago where dudes didn't have time to talk about this shit. You know why? Because they were out in the field just trying not to die.
Yes.
Well, and you couldn't reach only but a couple of other individuals.
Sure.
And now here on this stage, we are reaching an easy 30 people.
At least. I mean, you're a few
Easily.
a few dozen. Yeah.
Don't say that.
Literally dozens of people. There are tens of people that are.
You think it could be 36?
Oh, guaranteed. I guaranteed. And with me on here, when I tell my mom and my nephews, dude, you guys are going to go through the roof.
This could take us deep into the 40s. Deep into the 40s.
It's a big day.
That's
for
a
you
lot
guys.
of people
I'm
compared to
excited. The
two
way it
dudes
used to
out
be.
in the field talking.
Yeah.
You tell that joke every episode, and it blindsides
It's not a joke.
everyone.
It's we're
Yeah,
on
well, as
we're
long
on a
as-
rocket ship of listeners here, cowboy.
As long as he increases it each time,
It does increase as the numbers grow.
Sure.
I'm reporting factual statistics.
We have more than that, by the way. A lot more.
I have no doubt. Okay. I have no doubt. I mean, yeah.
No, we don't.
I looked at your YouTube channel. You guys have a pretty healthy subscriber list.
We have 50 or so over there, don't we? Right now, where are we at on YouTube? Our YouTube's aggressive.
It is aggressive. Yeah, 50 sounds about right.
Yeah,
50,
nice.
60.
100.
We're doing
maybe.
good. Better than I thought we'd ever do.
It's growing. It's at a rapid pace, and I appreciate. I think every episode we should thank our listeners and our followers, especially with what's going on these other platforms. That's why we did the podcast, and we talked about this briefly with Jack Carr. And here you can say things, and you're not going to get flagged, right? And then there's also a lot of tone that you miss when you're typing something.
Oh, for sure.
That you get in a
That's
in a
right.
conversation like this.
And
Yeah.
I'd also like to say we're not above offering goods, if you will, purchasing 5-star reviews.
Sure.
We've done it on several occasions.
Not yet. We haven't yet.
We've given away stuff for
that's
good
true.
reviews.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
purchasing a review.
Suppressor tools. We did a giveaway.
It's like a bartering thing.
Yeah.
And that's how the world works, man. You can't just
Sure,
expect
we
something
need these
for nothing.
reviews.
It's important.
We don't
Well,
want to get kicked off.
You're playing the game, right? You're playing the game. And I don't think there's anything
We're
wrong with
trying.
that. It, look, someone
He's
else
making fun of me right now.
someone
No, I'm
else
not.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm
set
not.
the
Quit
rules.
that.
Yeah.
But going back to this, this existential dilemma that we often find ourselves having. And this was part of the reasoning of starting Savage Gentlemen, because I was having my own, and I was starting to see a lot of other guys running into that. And it prompted me to think, okay, well, what's going on here? I mean, number one, the fact that, again, we are in, we're all privileged. We are temporally privileged. The fact that we live in this time period
In America.
right? Like, man, we could have been living in a time where we had to fight saber-toothed tigers.
Regardless
on the
of
regular.
race, creed, religion, whatever you are in America in 2021.
There's worse things. And so
Yes.
that, a sense of gratitude, I think, is important in that regard. And then looking at, okay, well, for me, it was, what was missing, right? And at the time, it was because I was just hammered down on the savage side. I was in the approaching the peak of my professional fighting career, and I had just had my daughter and realized, like, oh, I need to have a more reliable source of income for my family.
Yeah.
Got hooked up with the Black Rifle and the Ready Man guys, and got to pursue this creative side. And I had forgotten that this was something that I used to do.
That's a good lesson on knowing that you need to be a little bit more well-rounded.
Yes, and that's what it boiled down to. And so you see these guys, I think more common in today's society, guys have, really explored that gentleman side to its, I wouldn't say conclusion, but they've gone really hard on that, right? They went
To the point to where I'm somewhat uncomfortable.
Yeah, well, it can be problematic, and society has kind of taught us, whether intentionally or unintentionally, it's like, well, truthfully, you don't need a lot of savage skills. The average person does not need to know how to make a friction fire. Like, you really don't.
No.
The
Even in a survival,
No,
just
yeah.
get a freaking box of matches or a lighter that's got 1,000 lights to it.
For
1,000
sure.
little fires.
Keep your cell phone charged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you'll be fine. But there's an intrinsic value to knowing these things. And what that does for you as a human, as a man, is the part, that's the part that's missing. And so
There's a lot of empty tool belts, is what you're saying. And that's just another skill you can put in the tool belt.
it is, and the magic is not actually the skill itself. It is the process by which you obtain the skill.
If you can obtain one, you can obtain another.
Yes.
You just keep applying
The process
the same.
is, yeah. So,
That's right.
I mean, I guess maybe what it is we've become poor learners, and we stop learning, right? We lose that desire. We kind of fall into whatever this rut of life has become. We go to our job, and the hard part is we look at our checklist, our little bullet point, our boxes that we checked off of. Okay, I go to school, I get a job, or I go to college, and then I find a wife and I start a family, and I'm 40 years old and I'm fucking miserable. But the piece of paper here says I did all the things. Why do I feel this way? And it's like, well, you actually stopped. You're progressing in your career, but life is so much more than that.
You might not realize this, but you're trapped in a cage of helplessness.
You really are, and the only way to break.
You're too reliant on other people.
Yes. Yep. And so when you learn some of these things, whether it's fire making, whether it's increasing my physical capabilities, whatever we'll deem these savage skills are, you recognize your own capability, and that breeds a level of confidence and self-acceptance. It's like, man, it's a lot easier to live with myself when I know I can do things on my own, even if I don't have to. Like, look, I can change the oil in my truck. I don't have time for that shit right now, so I'm going to let someone else do it. But if I needed to, I could, and I can. And there's certain things that I will absolutely do myself.
Or a bolt on a Harley Davidson.
Well, it's a way to make yourself comfortable and relaxed.
Yeah. Well, and those are like little mini rite of passages, right? You know, as a young man, I looked for ways to impress my father.
Yep.
And I was successful, and then I also failed. And then once I was on my own, currently it's my wife, right? And she's easy to impress. So
Nice.
there's other ways.
Well, good choice, man. Way to go.
Yeah. Hopefully she won't listen to that. Part of this.
No, she knows she is.
Okay.
Okay, so now you're at 41.
Yeah.
We're going to drop one.
But it's those little things that you're talking about that add value to you as an individual. And it's also kind of like little mini rites of passages, you know, like one of mine right now. And I look up to Mike a lot because he's got all these little skills that many people do not. And one of them is lock picking. And I want to add that to my tool belt. And that's just going to add some value. Who knows? I might never need to pick a lock, but I know how, and I have the tools.
I'm such a hack at it. If I was better at it, it would be easier. But I can do the simple stuff.
Yeah.
And get lucky once in a while.
100% a lie.
That's not...
He's like a master lock
Is
picker.
he,
That's totally
is he
not
like a
true.
Houdini?
Yes.
You guys have a straight jacket here. I want to put this to the test.
Hold on. You just think that because, I'll grant it, I'm a level above you,
I'm going to
but
call you out, Mike.
I only know enough to know I know enough to know I'm not really good at it.
Which is maybe one of the most important aspects of this learning process.
It's a little self-reflection.
Well, and I mean, it gives you a level of humility, which goes a long ways, I think. The other thing that this allows you to do when you're talking about rites of passage and that sort of thing in our purpose and belonging. Like, so the rite of passage is that, you know, that point where we can kind of hang our hat and we can look back on and we can have that confidence to say, I did this thing, right? And so now that allows me to go out and do the other things. And ideally that whatever it is can be recognized by the tribe that they all know. It's not just some arbitrary thing that you made up, right? We all know, like,
It's like the movie 300, you know, where he sends out the boy,
they
the
go
whole
through
community
the
knows what's going on.
the agogi, I think is what they called it or something. The other way, now that you've become a man, your responsibility is to continue to learn these things so that you can impart that on someone else. That's part of the process. And that's the other thing is like, maybe I don't need to know how to build a fire or, you know, make a bow drill, but maybe at some point in my life I encounter someone who does, and guess what? Now I can bestow that upon them.
Sure.
You know, and I think that's a part of the process that we're missing is kind of this mentor-mentee exchange, right? Where we don't have a lot of men teaching other men things. You know, we've built up this facade of self-reliance where a lot of dudes just like, I don't need it. You don't need to tell me. And you see it a lot. I'm sure you guys...
A lot in the gun industry.
I was going to say, I don't want to beat up on your listeners too bad, but in the firearms industry, man, it's pretty brutal out there with guys not being willing to accept that, hey, maybe there could be not even a better way, but a different way.
They're confusing what it means to be an alpha male.
Yes.
And they're utilizing their pride, and it gets in the, you know, one thing my father always said, if you're not willing to listen and learn, you're stupid. And that was it. It wasn't very profound, but it was just like, you're stupid. If you're not willing to be the guy who knows the least amount and you're not teachable, then you're an idiot.
And when you go and you're constantly pursuing different things, you learn very quickly how much you don't know, and that's it's a good thing.
A friend of mine yesterday posted this post. It was all text, but on Instagram, I showed it to Rich while we were in the airport, and it said, this will not affect our friendship currently, but know that I have lists of A, B, and C team and dead weight if the grid goes down.
Sure.
I was like, and that's part of, if you had some skills, it's nice to be able to fit in a little bit.
It is, yeah.
One hand washes the other, as it were.
I mean, usefulness is, I I think that should actually become the currency with which and it may very well be in the near future of like, man, what are you able to do? What can you contribute? Yeah, sure, you can make snarky comments online. Great. You can make some dank ass memes. Fucking cool, bro. Right? You know what team you're going to be on?
Yeah. The
Dead
useless
weight.
team, the dead weight team.
The dead weight team.
I seek another person out that has skills that I don't possess.
As we should.
And that's how I've made it in life.
That's why
Then
I'm
you're
here.
useful, and yes, that's exactly why you're here.
I'm useful to Mike.
Nice.
Highly useful.
In order to do that, though, we do have to kind of remove that ego, right?
Sure.
And get out of our own fucking way.
Just take a look in the mirror and see what you've got and what you have to work with.
Yeah, but you have
Change
to
it how you can, and then know what you are.
But the thing that's hard about that is it requires honesty, because we're really good at fooling ourselves, and especially and you know this kind of from your exploits in the fitness industry, right? Where you can say and think, you know, the 1 rep max, right? This is my 1 rep max. Is it? When's the last time you did it? How many guys, oh yeah, man, I could bench press 315. Yeah, when you were 25, that does no longer apply.
That was your peak.
Yeah, and so, you know, this is where we have to go back and we kind of have to do some real assessment, which means we have to open the door of the possibility that, oh shit, I'm actually not as good as I thought I was, or as good as I once was. And I have to learn to be okay with that. And what happens is most guys don't have the security to have that conversation. So they build this facade. Yep. They don't look in the mirror. Or when they do look in the mirror, they see what they want to see and not what's actually there.
I've struggled with that.
For me, on that subject, I totally get it. I don't know if you've noticed Rich or really taken a good look at him, but that's a lifting machine.
Oh, yeah.
A powerhouse, if you will.
He is.
Oh,
He fills that little void for me.
Okay.
I don't need to go to the gym. Why would I do that? Rich is at the gym right now. It's like I'm there.
Important note. You know this because you were a professional athlete and injuries are a thing, and it has humbled the hell out of me because I was that guy. And it's, you know, I prided myself for a long time I'm 6'4", 200, at the time I was 275 pounds. Training for Highland Games, and so it was a lot of strongman workouts. And when I tore my pec, I realized I'm not gonna be able to bench again like I used to.
Sure.
So,
and that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
It really is. Yeah. 405 for 3, in case the audience was wondering.
They need to know. That's important.
3, not 1 rep. 405 for 3. That was my heaviest. But I would struggle to get 10 push-ups right now. So I'm learning how to adapt. There's going to be new strengths in me, no longer the chest. And my arrogance and pride got me to where that injury came in. And, you know, there's, especially from a lifting and athletic standpoint, as you go through injuries and, you know, whatever is going on in your life, you're learning those lessons. And if you're not teachable and you can't learn those lessons,
you keep making the same mistakes over and over and wind up in the same place. And listen, I'm not going to profess to be above these trappings. I still do the same dumb shit that I'm talking about. That's how I know these things exist.
I do as well.
Because I do it well. And somewhat to your point, you know, this isn't to say that everybody has to be this, you know, peak performance physical specimen. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, you know, there is some validity and some usefulness in some amount of physical capability. But listen, if you're going up into the freaking mountains and you're felling, you know, in logging 80-foot pine trees, like, okay, man, you're okay. And there'll be a point where you can't do that anymore. And that's fine too, because at that point you will have obtained so much wisdom that now your value and your contribution becomes imparting that. And we as men, you know, need to be looking ahead to that process.
I'm absorbing that.
That's why I've got Rich.
Yeah. So now you've got a flunky that can run around and lift all your heavy shit for you.
Yeah.
There's no way he's moving from A team to B team.
No.
Oh man.
And I tell you what, man, it's a different, and I've brought this up in the past podcast episodes. It's a different type of soreness. You know, I would just love to pick a Pacific Northwest hipster right off the streets of Portland, throw him in the back of that truck to see how long he could last up in the mountains with Pappas taking down some biggins.
That would be rough.
He wouldn't even get in the truck because it's diesel and it's
No,
bad
we'd
for the
put him
environment.
in.
We would put him in a
I'd
bag.
tell him it's electronic injected. Don't worry about it.
Electronic injector.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
The smell is me farting.
Yeah. You got to check that electronic fluid every once in a while.
No, it's got like a big old ECM and all that electronic high pressure injection. It's great for the environment.
Nice.
That truck's never stolen anyone's childhood. How dare you?
But, you know, I don't think we have a bad model of looking at this process of manhood because, again, no one's teaching us properly.
Right. Well,
Right?
and we've got a lot of the movements that are working against it, which is, it's frustrating, you know, because I've got 3 daughters, and I want them to grow up in a society where they feel empowered and they feel important, and they should, and have equal rights, obviously. All these things that we're hearing on a daily basis. But now it's going to the point where it's going too far. It's like, okay, we're going to fight for all these things, and these same ladies that wear the pussycat hats are saying toxic masculinity, and they're fighting against what it means to be. That's why I did that post the other day. The masculine American male is dying breed, and you're helping do the Lord's work.
I'm doing what I can,
Yeah.
and really, it's more out of a place of just like helping people. Like I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I'm all for masculinity.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But really, like I just want to see humans in general reach their full potential. It just so happens that I have a lot more experience in in this sphere of manhood. Like, look, I'm not qualified to tell anyone anything about how to be a woman, you know, and I only know what it means to be a man from my own experience, which is the only thing I can actually ever speak to anyway. So that's what puts me in that you know, sphere. This idea, you know, of these radical feminism and that sort of thing. This isn't to downplay or be dismissive of that, but like all that crazy bullshit can only gain traction if we give it attention, right?
That's why you're doing the Lord's work.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Sure.
you know, there's a, you know, you can look at it a couple of ways where like I see this crazy bullshit and this is the most asinine thing. And so now I'm going to combat that, right? I've got to confront that head on. Well, you're giving it legitimacy when, you know, when people start saying absurd things like amen and a women or whatever, right?
Not actually understanding what amen means.
You know, okay, I could spend an inordinate of time picking that apart and explaining like this, see what it's coming to.
Yeah.
Or I could just be like, what a fucking idiot, and go about my business of making myself and other people better.
Yes.
Let's move
yeah.
on.
Let's move on. Like stop feeding into it.
You don't have to fight every fight.
You really don't, and some of these things are kind of, and I could be wrong, man. You know, maybe that is the fight, and maybe if we were to follow my advice, then in the next 10 years, we're all drinking soy lattes.
You pick the fight and you put more effort into it.
That's the way I look at it.
Do it and do it well, not do everything.
Do
and
everything
do it poorly.
Every time I see an article that shits on men and masculinity and toxic masculinity and that sort of thing, I'm not spending my time trying to counteract those because it's stupid.
Right.
And any rational human being will look at that. But the more, just like we were talking about the negative comments on social media,
Right.
it's like, by them, what they think they're doing is they're combating me. They're actually helping me.
Don't feed the trolls.
But no, I'll feed the shit out of the trolls. I'll feed my trolls because they're feeding me.
Yeah.
Like, please, to all you listeners, go and talk shit on Savage Gentleman Facebook page and rip me a new one for my long hair and hipster beard.
Well, let's not go asking for
It's
it.
not hipster.
You give me fodder, right? And you're helping me. That's what these people don't realize on that end of the spectrum. And I think that's something that we, forget as champions of masculinity, where it's like, pick your battles, right? There is stuff worth fighting for. Don't get me wrong, right? We need to stand for something. You can't just, be a pushover, but,
Well, no, but sometimes ignoring something takes away its validity.
yes,
100%. And its power. Yeah.
So that's my and we pick and choose, and we're gonna make mistakes. Something's gonna strike a chord, man, and we just can't help but fucking firing off that tweet.
Yeah.
But but hopefully you look at that in hindsight and you say, that wasn't really necessary. That was a waste of time. And we learn from it and we get better at it. And now,
Or sometimes it's awesome.
I mean, sometimes in the currency of followers, right? Sometimes you kind of need to do that. If that's your shtick, if that's your market, if that's your thing, if you are a Twitter pundit, as it were, it's like, well, man, you kind of made your bed, you have to line it. So either accept it and be complicit in the fucking cesspool that is, that medium, or find a way to remove that and find an alternative means for getting your message out there. Again, you can't piss and moan about Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and then just and still continue to get on there and post every day. Like, it doesn't work. You're like, man, fuck Mark Zuckerberg, on his platform as I continue to fucking write him checks.
Yeah.
Stop. You talk about hypocritical. That's so either you recognize the necessary evil of it, and you accept that, and you keep your mouth shut and stop wasting your time pissing and moaning about everything, or figure out a way to come up with something different. And I'm hoping that's
solution-based.
Yeah, be solution-based, right? Yeah. We can piss and moan about the state of masculinity and where men are, right? Well, what have you done to sow into another man and help him become, right? Everyone wants to shit on these hipsters. How many of you guys have taken that dude out in the woods camping and taught him how to sharpen an axe or use it, right?
Here's
Adopt a hipster.
Good point.
That's our new...
Adopt a hipster, like Boys and Girls Clubs.
Yeah.
Extend a hand.
Yeah.
Listen, you make a good point, and we talked about this yesterday, a buddy of mine and I, and it was about these clubs that used to be everywhere, like the Lions Club, or these little men's fraternities, basically.
Yep.
You don't
The Elks Club.
The Elks Club. You don't see them very much anymore, and I think that's one thing. And maybe it doesn't need to come back in the same form.
Sure.
Maybe it needs to shift into kind of like what you guys are doing with your brand with Savage Gentleman. But I think the breaking bread, the community of men coming together and doing things. And every one of them is on a different level or a different part of the Mr. scale, right? But we're all together in one room thinking of ways that we can not only benefit each other, but also our community, our families. And I feel like that's something that will help bring things back to where they should be.
Now, I'm pretty sure the government can handle all that. Yeah. There's programs in place, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just let those guys, they're smarter than us. Right? I mean, we elected them. They're our betters. So we should just sit idly by, let them dictate to us how we should live our lives. And
All
everything
inclusive.
will be solved.
Yeah.
It'll all be fine because, clearly it's been working really fucking well so far. I mean, let's give them more money to manage because they're doing a spectacular job. They really, know how to balance things out and keep a fucking smooth running ship. I mean, look at sorry if you work for the post office, listeners, but look at the U.S. Postal Service. Man, fucking great. Better yet, look at the DMV.
Yeah.
You want to tell me
efficient.
that the people who have created these institutions, look at our public school system,
Yeah.
that we want them to do more things? You guys have really proven your worth here. All right. How about our healthcare? How about just tell me what to watch, what to think, what to eat. Definitely tell me what to eat.
And that's, I think, what a direct result. And then you're also seeing these men, like I've watched comedians talk about it all the time, like the dude that, don't be this guy, first of all, going into a nice restaurant, right? And your wife's the one who checks you in, and your wife's the one who orders for you and herself. And I mean, those are little examples, but it's like, I can't tell you how many, there's the leadership aspect in relationships that I see just surface level wise in public. It's troubling to me.
Well,
that's the gentleman's side.
I'm gonna probably do some brand damage here.
Okay.
To myself. I let my wife drive me pretty much everywhere, almost exclusively.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
She actually gets like fucking terribly car sick, and if she is in it, so it's a proposition. It's like, okay, I can drive, and she'll let me drive.
As long as you don't ride bitch on a Harley with her.
But then I have to listen to her. So, and I only say that to illustrate. We play a dangerous game.
Yeah.
When we pick and choose these very specific things.
That's good.
And I'm not saying that you're wrong in that. The principle, the underlying principle of leadership is incredibly important, and we need more of that. Mm-hmm. This whole problem that we're having of guys not knowing how to be men and do stuff is because no one's taught them. If so you can't point that at the problem. These organizations, these things are valuable. That's the way we have passed down our traditions. That's the way the human race has survived to get to this point, is that, the elders of the tribe pass down that information. We're not being good stewards. We're not doing that very well. We need to do a better job. And to your point of, with the Savage Gentleman thing, it's not the best medium. But we've got a closed Facebook group we call the League of Savage Gentlemen, and the point of it is to do just that. And obviously I want to move it off of that platform because, again, it's very short-sighted to put all my eggs in that basket on something I can't control. But it works for now, and I have a game plan to move it. But so far, it's been pretty productive in that. And so that's just a quick little plug and an invitation for you guys, for anyone listening or watching.
What other products? So you got. We talked a little bit about your clothing. I know that you have heavy bags, which is awesome. Yep. Leather heavy bags. Yeah, leather is something we got into because it was kind of that perfect balance, the medium. Mm-hmm. It's both savage and gentleman, right? It's super classy, it's super refined, but it's also very primitive and primal. So leather kind of is that.
It's classy, but it wears like very well.
Yeah.
It's long term.
It is. And that's the other thing too, is like, man, there's a lot of companies that sell a lot of products that are kind of just throwaway trash items.
Sure.
Harkening back to an era where we talk about our fathers and our grandfathers, and you'll see we kind of have a vintage theme with stuff, and it's paying homage to that, where things were built to last. There was intentionality in what we did day to day, and we've lost that. Everything is cheap and fast and easy.
Yep.
And a lot of the problems that we're in today are because that's the mentality that we have just accepted. So from a product side, we've got our apparel line. We've got a lot of leather goods. We've got T-shirts and hats and all that sort of thing as well. We've got leather aprons. It's a, mechanic type guy.
That's classy.
Yeah, we try.
They are nice too.
Yeah, no, they're super nice. And part of the thing for us was like, look, I'm not going to make something that I'm not going to actually use ourselves.
What about fender covers?
Ooh.
That's a thing that I used to use a lot. And no one really uses them anymore, and you don't see them like you used to.
You're talking about like with the the naked lady on the back? Oh, no.
No, you put it over
I was thinking mud flaps.
Nice paint, and then you work on it.
Ooh.
Where'd they all go? Why don't I have any?
Because everyone sends their thing to the dealership. They're not working on their shit, and those guys got plenty of stuff.
Maybe
that's what it is. But hey, let's bring back the
fender
garage
cover.
mechanic.
I missed that.
I like that. Man, that's a massive amount of leather. Maybe we do a leather canvas hybrid.
Well, maybe
you guys are witnessing product development right now.
Naga hide. It doesn't have to be leather. Just
no, it has
nice...
to. No.
Okay, all right.
It's got to be leather.
Let's go.
Sorry. I mean, it's going to be an exorbitantly expensive piece, but that's the other thing too.
Maybe
is
Jay Leno would buy some.
Yeah, totally. And that's the other thing too. Is like, people are like, man, your stuff's kind of pricey, like $400 for a punching bag. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And if
One and done.
Yeah.
right, I mean, this thing will last you, indefinitely. It's going to look amazing. Sure, you can go and you can buy an Everlast bag for $100. You can. And by all means, please do. And this isn't like, I'm not saying that everyone even needs or should have our punching bag. That's the other thing too. Like, I don't give a shit if you buy our stuff. I would like for you to, but if you don't want it, I'm not going to twist your arm.
Yeah.
I don't want you to go into, there's no world where I want a guy to spend his hard-earned money that he should be using to feed his family to buy some of our shit. It's insane. Like this vest is cool, but not everyone needs it. But for the guys who want it,
I need it.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's classy.
It's got the leather patch on it.
I agree with you.
So what else?
You don't want a hard sell.
Right.
No, I really don't. And maybe my business would be doing better, right? I mean, look, I'll be the first to admit I'm not a super fucking savvy business guy. Again, I'm a knuckle dragging Neanderthal, face punching, survival skills dude. So what do I know about business? But I do know quality when I see it. I know that this is a product that I can believe in, and the price is the price. It's not us trying to, gouge anybody. It's like, well, we're making really nice shit.
I thought you were going to come out with a higher price tag on that punching bag because it's beautiful too. It is a fine looking piece of equipment.
It's pretty sexy. And not everyone cares about a sexy, but some people do.
Well, for me, on a budget, you can't buy the best of everything.
Sure.
But anyone can buy very good quality things in certain areas.
Yeah.
And you just hope to appeal to that guy that really appreciates it and then has something to be proud of. I think there's a lot of pride of ownership when it comes to your man stuff. Like, I don't get any pride of ownership in a TV. Sorry,
Sure,
I get them
but
from Walmart.
Look at that tool set.
That's pure man stuff right there.
For
though.
sure.
I want the best, and I'll have less and pay more and be proud.
And I think that's perfectly fine and acceptable. I think the mistake is believing that we have to do that about everything. Like,
Correct.
everybody
This is
has
what I'm saying. It's
everybody
okay.
has their passion.
Pick and choose.
Yeah, and in my mind, the idea that the products that we make, aside from being functional, the thought is that they serve as a token, as just a little, reminder of this idea of being a savage gentleman. Like, a wallet is just a wallet. Like, there's wallets are dime a dozen. Why do I care about this wallet that says Savage Gentleman and it's made in this really nice vintage leather and, it's handcrafted here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and, by us, ourselves. Like, we're making these things. Why does that matter? You could get a wallet for, a fraction of the price at Walmart. But this thing, it has an emblem on it. It has our logo of a straight razor and brass knuckles that symbolizes both the savage and the gentleman. And it should just serve as that, very small reminder of what we're striving to be, what we're trying to become, this savage gentleman.
Agreed.
That's
Is there
it's a
music
symphony.
playing?
No, you're having a stroke. It's fine.
I like a nice
Take
wallet.
me home, Lord.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we could probably hook you.
I got this one a couple years ago from Kenny Bozick.
Okay.
Winding Wheel.
Okay.
I think he changed the name of it, but that's been a solid wallet.
It's nice, man.
I've got.
You had to kill a calf or something for that, they said.
You can get some classy whiskey glasses. I know that from your website.
We do. We've got whiskey glasses, and like I said, I mean, SavageGentleman.com. You guys can go there and check out and see what's there.
Do you want to drop a promo code, or do you guys do that?
We can do that.
Just it's up to you. Just some of our followers have asked that in the past.
Sure. Let's do. What do you want to do? Dead air.
That'd be easy.
Yeah, that's pretty easy.
Dead air.
Well, this isn't
Traceable?
going. Yeah. I've got to set it up. So, but this is not going to go out in the next 5 seconds.
We've got about
2
an
weeks
hour.
from now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can. I can probably figure out how to make that up in between now and then.
You've got Rich.
Yes. Use promo code Dead Air Silencers, or just Dead Air.
I was just going to truncate it.
'Kay.
Just so they don't have to type as much.
Use code Dead Air. Save yourself some shekels at SavageGentleman.com.
Nice.
Let's take another look at those wallets.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Or a punching bag.
Can employees use the code?
You guys, anybody who has it. Yeah, obviously.
I don't know. Someone's always coming up with some rule I don't like. That's
Yeah.
common.
Here's the thing. We can get really weird about it. How do you guys feel about dead air wallets?
I like that.
We've talked about that actually recently.
Let's
Just
talk
saying.
offline about
Just saying,
that.
we
Yeah.
you know,
Let's
hey,
see if we can make that happen.
we can make that
tuned.
happen.
Well, it was awesome to have you on.
Yeah, this is really fun. I love what you guys are doing here. This is, obviously a really cool
Well,
space.
It's a little ghetto, but look, we're doing what we can with what we have.
Bless your little hearts, you guys. You're trying, so hats off to that. No, I mean, really, honored to be here in the midst of, you fine fellows and just to have a nice conversation.
Thanks for the time. That was awesome.
Yeah. SavageGentleman.com. Savage Gentleman on Instagram.
At Savage Gentleman Official.
Okay.
Some asshole took. Damn. I know. We were late to the party.
And then Josh at Josh Tyler MMA.
Yes, that's me personally. I don't know if you care about that stuff.
People will go over there. Go follow him.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everyone have a good week.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share with all your home slicers.